Hello, my name is Kayden. Welcome to the Skill Squad group with Respect All Love. Now we're going to turn it over to Ayjay to get into video editing.
Hi everyone. My name is Ayjay, and I'm actually usually a drag artist. I've performed digitally since pretty much October of 2020, and I spent a lot of my time doing my own editing because I studied animation and filmmaking for 10 years. A lot of my skill is mostly through Adobe and iMovie, but I will be including other software that is more accessible to those who are not financially stable or don't have a computer. So I'll be going into that as well. And I will be talking about captioning your videos because I know they can be quite daunting for a lot of people. I want to make sure that I make it as easy on them as possible. So just to get into it, we are going to do a screen share right now. Let's do this. And voila, look at where we are. We're in iMovie. If you guys are used to Mac or iOS objects like iPads and iPhones, you're familiar with this software. This one specifically is rather easy. I call it a starter software because this is what I started using as a teenager when I first started studying this stuff in high school. You're basically going to just take whatever video. So right now I have this video, which is just a little intro video that I use sometimes for my digital pieces. And you underlay some music. So right here is where you would detach your audio from your original video, from the sound from your video, and you just delete it. It's pretty simple, just whatever, but we're not going to be focusing on that with this because this is mostly just going to focus on just the caption part because this is where a lot of people have a lot of problem because there isn't like a captioning option on iMovie. You have to use title screens. So what I have learned is that you would use lower third, which is kind of just a basic kind of title screen, really simple, lower third. You're just going to drag and drop it. Pretty simple, right? And you just put the title, description, things like that. So instead of putting like the name or anything, you would delete that one because rather it's easier if it's small, it's not taking up the whole screen. And you're going to put right here um, what the lyrics are, or if there's just mostly sound, kind of like knocking on a door or cars starting, things like that. You want to be descriptive of the sound. But for text, this is what you would put for text in general. You just put the text. So for this one, I put right here. I want to make sure I got the sound on this guy. Don't know if you can hear it. Let's see. Okay, you can hear it. Cool. See how it didn't edit it? See how it made that mistake? I didn't save what I was typing. So delete that. Put it here. Say. And you would shorten it to however long where that voice is speaking. So for right now, this is all it's saying. And leave it up there for just a little bit longer to give people time to kind of process what is being said. So you notice like when you're watching TV or watching movies, sometimes there is a bit of a delay with the captions and things like that. It gives people time to read, especially those who can't hear, who are auditory challenged. You want to be able to give them that moment. Um, and I do know that it is kind of hard for those who, like myself, I have ADHD. And I have a lot of trouble translating language quite a bit of the time because I don't understand most of the time what people are saying. It's kind of hard. So I have to listen to it, go back and forth. But the beautiful thing is with music, there's lyrics on Google. You can Google it and kind of see where things are. I wouldn't trust it 100%. And you can always ask a friend for help to see if they can hear something, right? You want to be able to have them see if that's making sense to them as well. That's what I have to have my wife do sometimes for me. She'll listen to a song, she'll help me with the lyrics, things like that. And then I would go and ask her if that's okay. And she says, yeah, no, that's good. Those kind of things. So never be afraid to ask for help. That's another one. So that's captioning in iMovie. I'm saving the hard stuff for last because it's a lot more intricate, especially with Adobe. But I know some people are more curious about maybe mobile editing. So I'm gonna go with this guy, which is my iPad. Oh, pressing home button. Oh, goodness. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. So this is iMovie, just on the iPad. I don't have an iPhone. I'm sorry. I know it's gross for some people, but you're gonna edit this. And the hardest part about editing on iMovie on the tablet is the fact that in order to put the captions on, you have to actually crop it to where you want stuff to happen. So let's go to the beginning of this. You see where that is? We're gonna press play. See where it crops? So that is a little hard and a little bit more intricate, but I'll show you guys how to crop that. So because this is the hard the it's not the hardest part, I won't say, is the captioning. It's just the most daunting and the most nerve-wracking because you want to make sure you're getting it right. You're not messing up anybody's languages. You're not um mishearing anything. So that's where it just becomes a lot because you're having to physically type everything. There's software out there and websites that'll do it for you, but you still have to edit it because I noticed when you do the automatic captioning, even on Instagram when you're doing reels or stories or anything like that, you still have to go back and edit it because it misses quite a bit. Even with the story that I put up to advertise this lecture, I still had to edit the captions. One didn't spell my name right, so I had to fix that. But it kept misspelling some of the drag shows I was in. It kept misspelling, kept skipping words, things like that. So even with captioning, you will have to edit it. You will have to type it out. There's no easy fix. Um, uh, there's no magic software that automatically takes our words and fixes it. There are options though in Adobe that give you that kind of bit of a freedom. So let's pull up not iMovie, sorry. Let's pull up Premiere really quick. It takes a bit to load. But this software is expensive. I'm not gonna lie, it's very expensive. I just happen to have the means to be able to pay for it. There are sales though that usually come up if you look at it. Usually a first time user gets like gets Creative Suite for like $30 a month or something like that for a year. Just wanting access to my microphone. Why? I already fixed that. So this is Adobe Premiere. It has a lot more to it than some people would expect. iMovie is pretty simple, just drag and drop, you know. But see how this is? See how this stuff works? This is your actual sound. This is your video. These are your videos. So this one isn't really thing. But see this video? See, I have a green screen. You're gonna be putting this above, okay? And this one, right below. So you can just kind of crop some of this. And this one almost, for a lot of people, if you've used other software like DaVinci, it's kind of similar. A lot of the freer, the more easily accessible software, it kind of reminds people of Adobe. Adobe just can be kind of finicky with hardware and things like that. So um, be cautious. So be cautious of that. But when it comes to this specifically, you see these things right here. These are the audios. You want to delete those. You don't want to keep those because you're going to be putting your own sound to it, right? You're putting your own sound. You're putting your own sound to it. And what the beautiful thing is that I like about this is that you can actually just cut things and then just delete them if you don't want them. Whereas, like on the tablet, you can't necessarily do that. You have to go through the motions of um, adjusting and then cutting and then re-dipping in, which you shouldn't have to do with this. But you see how we have this green screen and we have this one below, right? So what we're going to do is this. I will fix that sound, by the way. That is not good. Let's see. So you see this, right? We have these different like filters, things like that. And oh, goodness me. Here you go, video effects. So you see the word keying, right? This is usually how people deal with green screen on Adobe. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag it onto this, okay? This is just simple green screening. I'm not going to there's no way to fully like mask like some of this stuff, so it kind of sucks. But the key color, what we're going to focus on is the dropper. So you're going to use a dropper. And oh, what's going on? I know it's not like that. I know it's been bigger. Anyway, usually when it comes to like editing and keying things out, you can usually just kind of delete it, things like that. But it's not going to have like the cleanest. So what you're going to have to do is usually, where is it? Where'd it go? You're going to have to clean it up. So the transparency, you can edit this by dragging and fixing it, but it's really not gonna see how the shadow adjusts, things like that. It's gonna be kind of hard for it to like fully dissipate in a way. So usually when it comes to like the green screen things like that, I stick to iMovie because it's easier to clean up than it is at Adobe. It's Adobe is just has a lot more to it and has a lot more ability to uh, add captioning. It's just like I said, all this stuff is just really daunting, really tedious too. Whereas some of the stuff is just kind of like the shadow, a highlight. See how that looks? We can delete this too. Just delete that because that's not gonna look great. So just so you guys know, when you're editing in Adobe, this the detail when it loads doesn't look good. It's only going to look good as soon as you pause it because it's rendering at a specific rate. So that way it doesn't ruin any of your computer, like um, your computing any of your the ability to compute what you're dealing with. So my videos are usually all in 4K because it's just how my phone records and it's just easier for me when I need to edit things. But some phones don't have the ability to do 4K, and that's fine. That's why it's just like this isn't the best option for a lot of people. This is just where a lot of like YouTubers, a lot of video editors, this is where they usually start out because this is what school teaches us. Um, and that's fine. That's totally fine. We're gonna learn how we learn, and everybody's gonna have their different types of software. This is about comfortability too. I'm comfortable using Adobe. I'm comfortable using iMovie. I'm comfortable using TikTok for editing, but everybody's going to have their own thing. So let's go back to iMovie, right? And you know what? It's cool if you use both too. Using all these different softwares at once will benefit you too, because it'll have their different skill sets that you can mix together and really just pull the video together. It just depends on where you want to render. I technically like to render through iMovie mostly because it's the quickest. Whereas Adobe Premiere, you have to go through Adobe Media Encoder. And depending on what computer you have, it may not render at all. And there's just a lot of errors that I've come across. Not the strongest. And I'm not giving it a good review at this point, but it's just it has its downfalls. Whereas some software have their ups and downs as well. Like for iMovie, the captioning isn't the best. I would stick with Premiere for doing captioning because you can time it specifically. You don't have to edit anything. You don't have to cut anything. You don't have to do any of that stuff. But if you're wanting quick captioning, iMovie's just great. Okay. So let's move on to back over to the iPad. Okay. Come on. Let's back over to iMovie. So when it comes to editing on these videos, you see that there's like a little T in the corner of that video right here. That is actually telling you that there's a text on there, and you can add different texts throughout the entire thing. You can edit it, tap it, go to titles, and then just pick whichever one you want to use. They don't have a lot on here because it's not meant for like huge videos, but if you want to caption quickly, this is a great option. And from what I know, this doesn't look much different on an actual iPhone than it does on the tablet, than it does on their iPad, because it's the same iOS software technically. Um, but you can usually edit it and change it. I kind of like the split one because it looks kind of cool. So let's talk with that. And it just comes in kind of cool. So now this is actually kind of a good segue for transitions. There's a lot of transitions in iMovie than in Adobe. They're just not as, to me, they're just not as clean cut. And we'll get into that, how difficult that can be as well. But for iMovie, it's pretty simple. You can just click here, drag and drop, go back to media, drag another copy of the video down here, and do, and then do. If you want to put in transitions, you click transition, and you can just put it right here. Come on, right here. You can kind of see it. It won't let you do it to the top ones for some reason. See it? Transition. That's just a simple thing. Not my favorite thing to do, honestly. But it works and it does really well. My favorite one to use, I don't like the spin outs. I don't like the ones that really just turn images, things like that. I like the blurs because it makes it a lot more simple. So just makes it a lot more simple. So let's do this. Put this here. Put it in the video here. Oh my God, I'm trying to play it. There we go. It's always going to keep doing that. I don't know why. Anyway, let's see. Another thing you can do is actually like copy and paste, which is pretty cool, which is something I completely forgot about, and I apologize. But this makes it kind of fun. It doesn't really change anything right here because you can't tell, but it does change the background. So just kind of mess with it, kind of figure out what you want to do. Um, it's all about comfortability, really about what you feel is going to be good for you in the long run. What's going to make your video stand out? For performance videos, it's not like the most important thing really to focus on. Um, but it is gonna definitely make it stand out as each video goes along. Um, I'm not doing a very good job at explaining stuff. I apologize, but I'm trying. Um, let's skip that. Let's go to oh, I have to back up and it just keeps closing itself. Freaking annoying. Anyway, so is it me? Am I the drama? I don't. So you see how if you've used TikTok, you know how to edit your videos, right? Am I the drama? Yeah. I don't think I'm. Is it me? Am I the drama? I don't think I'm. So we have videos. I leave mine in the draft sometimes because it's been a while since I put up a TikTok. But some of my favorite things that I like to do was editing them. It was a lot of fun. Because this is kind of like a lot of people's first intro to video editing. Kind of their first step in a way, especially if they don't have a computer. And it's free. That's another part. It's free. Um, but some of the videos, they're pretty simple. They don't really have a lot of detail when you first start out, but that's what, effects is for. Go through the effects. You can hold down specific ones that you like. Um, like I like the TV version. I like to turn on the TV or turn it off because it's a good beginning and it's also a good end. But it's a great way for a video to loop without you having to actually act out and fully edit in a loop. It makes it just very simple, very quick, and it stands out. It definitely does stand out. And the one thing that does really help out this thing is the fact that they actually have a caption option if you want to caption your video if you're speaking. That's the only way it works. It doesn't work with music. If you have lyrics, if you're performing to a song on here, you have to type it out again. There's just no way around it. There's just no way around any of that stuff. Um, but it is like pretty simple. So like I said, with this one, when I pray, you can do any one of these titles. Makes it easy. You can't transition in here with these, but Premiere you can do that. So let's go with the beginning right here, right? There is a titles markers sequence, but there is one caption. If they mess with me like that. Yay! Okay. I'm just gonna do this. Okay. I'm trying to see. And don't just look caption. Having trouble. Um, there you go. So there's a text option, right? This is closed caption. This is how it works. And you can import actual files. This is where I was going to say Adobe is actually really good with captioning. There's actual things you can download called captioning files. You just have to kind of Google it and figure out if you can find any sort of text file that works with Adobe to import and things like that. Um, so I don't have any for this because really for songs they don't have those kind of things. But for like movies or if you're including audio from a movie or things like that, there is definitely caption files that you can use. But you can also do a caption track. So you can pick specific ones. I stick with subtitle because that's technically what we're doing. You can go start right here, like where this one begins, where this audio begins. Hit the plus button, adds a caption, starts it at that time. So that's the benefit, and that's the beginning that's going to start at. So type it in. And this can actually move it to where the playhead is. So you're going to see this at the bottom. The only problems, like I said, there is no transition with the actual captions. They don't offer those kind of things. But that's how you caption in Adobe. It's pretty simple. And you can keep adding and placing and moving. And that's why it's a huge benefit to having a lot of having this software because you can edit, go back, switch around, fix, adjust, and it just makes it so much easier. But when it comes to other software, it's just a lot of like I said, you are gonna have to type things out. If you don't have the ability to type things out, it is totally okay to ask people if they can, if they're able to, and to be able to help you. There's no shame because I've had to do the same thing. And a lot of the people that I helped out when I did digital drag, I did a lot of their captioning because it was I had a lot of the different software, I had the ability, and I had the time. For some people, there's just not enough time to do it either. Like, and that's okay. And that's where it's, okay to also ask for help too. And if people charge, pay them because this is not easy, as you can tell. It is a lot of tedious work, takes a lot of time, and that's okay. It's okay if it takes time because that means putting in that effort to get things done, to get things right. Um, I know that for a, for iMovie and Adobe, these are only the two softwares that I've used the most. But there is different software. There's DaVinci, which is one of the bigger softwares out there that that Hollywood uses for a lot of their movies and things like that. I have not used it yet, but there are people who have used it, and there I think there is a free trial going around for that right now, so you can look into that. You will need to have a decent computer for a lot of video editing software because some of the software that people use, I've noticed has uh, it's free, but if you don't have the right computing abilities in like hardware wise, there's going to be problems with uploading, problems with saving, rendering, things like that. I usually stick to Mac because that is usually the easiest way to make sure that everything is according to plan because I usually don't have a problem with using Mac, and that's actually what they teach us to use in college when it comes to video editing. They tell you to use that. I know some that usually use Windows, um, but most of the time it's usually Mac because it's industry standard of what most companies use. They use Mac. Um, but because of this, um, there are some things that are just not 100%. Like, let's say if I try and actually, let's say I try and actually like render this video, right? After I edit it, there's a chance it's not gonna render properly because of me not having enough space in my computer. So you have to make sure there's space too for this stuff to run. Otherwise it won't go through or it won't work, things like that. Um, there you go. Transition. There are some transitions you can crop, edge feather, that's transform, transition. There we go. So block dissolve, it's usually pretty simple. You can just add it here, video here, it makes it pretty simple. didn't actually do it. What the flapjack? Okay. Let's see. It didn't do it. See what I said when freaking Adobe doesn't do its thing? That's what I'm talking about. Trying to do it, trying to do some cool stuff, trying to show you guys what to do, and it's just not working. Um, I have had some issues with Adobe recently, and it's one of the reasons why I had to really stop and really kind of put things into perspective. There we go. Gradient white. So wasn't why wasn't working. Huh. Let's just maximize this. You see what I mean? What I'm talking about? How it's just not working. That's why like some of the things I did when I did editing and things like that, I did most of my stuff in. I did a lot of my stuff in iMovie because it was just really simple, um, pretty easy to kind of move things around, editing video tracks. Um, and it rendered quite well. Like one of the examples that I have that I did fully in iMovie is actually my Be Our Guest number that I did way back when. Another one that I did was my Moulin Rouge number, and I did all that in iMovie because I didn't have access to Adobe software. But the stuff that you can do with when you have like time to yourself and just kind of have the time to kind of just mess with it, you're gonna find something that you like. You're gonna find the stuff that you like to do. What I did do in Adobe Fully was this guy. Let me see. No, this guy. This is the first one I did fully in Adobe. It took me 2 weeks because of how much stuff had changed. But this is the kind of stuff you have the ability to do in certain software. You're able to kind of put yourself in a fucking TV. Like that's pretty cool. Pardon my language, but you're able to put yourself in a TV. Um, so with this one, it's just a little harder because you have to kind of mess with things and working your comfortability, kind of putting things together. Um, I know it's not the easiest because a lot of this stuff is just a lot of you look at it, there's a lot of words. There's transparency, highlight, shadows, just all this for ultra key, just to make sure that the green is gone. So there's not a bunch of green around you if you use a green screen. Um, Changing the speed, so slowing it down, that's pretty simple. You can just drag and move it so it's a little slower, a little faster, whichever. Um, Motion pretty much to scale, making sure it's bigger, smaller, those kind of things. Um, Gradient wipe, just that's a transition. I'm gonna just take that off. Um, but you're able to kind of mess with these things to make it easier on you 100%. So um, that's where they went. Sure. Okay. Um, but we can see where this is going to change, right? Don't know why it's doing that. It's supposed to transition. I don't know why it's freaking out on me. I apologize. This is not usually how it goes. I'm not sure what's happening, but I've used these transitions before and they don't look like this normally. They actually work, so I'm not sure what's going on. Another thing, technology. Things don't always work out, you know, things don't always work out 100%. But just to start, just to make things easy for yourself, just crop a video, put the next one in, add a transition. This is what I like to use. This is what I like to use. A little dissolve, a little transition, a little fun, because in the end, we're just trying to make sure that our videos are fun, right? We're just trying to make things exciting and that draws people in so they can see what we do and have fun at the same time. It's not an easy thing, and it's only so much we can talk about in an hour. But I have faith that if you mess around, you'll figure it out, because that's what I did during school. That's what I did when I was studying this stuff. I messed around and I found out, and not in a bad way. Not like everybody says, mess around and find out. I messed around, found out, and actually figured out the stuff on my own, because sometimes you just kind of got to do that. You just kind of mess around, kind of figure it out. Um, and like I said, for me personally, I would start with just messing with TikToks. I would start messing with social media, like reels and stories and things like that, because it's going to make it so much easier for you in the end, because you already know what this stuff is, what it is, not how to do it, but where to start. Because going from using the original Adobe Premiere and going into the new Adobe Premiere, I did have to do some tutorials. I did have to research a little bit more, because I mean, 10 years of learning the stuff, but having not touched it for another few was the hardest part, because things change so quickly. Even looking at TikTok, I haven't touched TikTok in a year, over a year, and I already see that there's more to it than it originally was. So I feel slightly unfair. But we all have our skill sets, we all have our strengths. And if you just kind of mess around, kind of figure out what you like, you'll end up figuring out what you want to put there. You know what I mean? You'll end up putting here, it's like, because this Pray is the song that I used from years and years for this little video. But that's what I have. And it's just something I use simply because that's all we can do. That's all we can do. And I hope people who are hosting have any questions. They're free to ask, because um, it was just a simple kind of intro for me right now. So I wasn't sure if they had any questions.
Sure. Where did you find that background? Did you make it? Did you download it from somewhere?
Oh, so most of my backgrounds are written from YouTube, because a lot of the really good, like a lot of the stuff I download, um it's it's royalty free. So a lot of the stuff I use is royalty free. They're recommended for you to download and to rip and put in your videos. They're not for monetary consumption unless you want to go to the website, but ripping is just as easy. Um, and these aren't like people who do this isn't like small people that I would rip from. They're like big companies that are charging like $50 for like a 10-second video. That are just backgrounds. But these are the ones that I take care of. These are the ones that I would rip or pull from YouTube, or even I'd actually would pay for some of it at times, depending on the quality of it or where I needed to get it from. Um, but most of the time, you can find this stuff on YouTube and download it, because it's really just simple stuff. Um, it's really just simple little background. So I don't have a lot of my old stuff, because I had to delete a lot of stuff in order for to run some of my software today, because it's been a while since I touched it. Um, but I have because here's the thing, you can even go out into like your main city and record some of the background, some of the city, and use it as your background. Because I did that for one of my other videos where my friend lives in downtown LA, like square right in the center of downtown LA. I went to the top of a building and recorded from the street, recorded from the very top and straight down on the floor to the actual street. So there's like people walking and like kind of just basic stuff that you would find in some of the like stock footage websites. Some of the stock footage websites are really expensive. Once saw a video that was like 30 seconds long, and it was just people walking on a street, and it was $300. So if you see a place to rip it from, rip it. Because most of these people are just big. They're usually big corporations who are usually exploiting artists. I mean, with like all the AI generation and everything that's going on, I would just rip it if you can from YouTube, if you can find it. Usually you can, but sometimes you can't. But yeah, I get these from YouTube. I've recorded my own. Sometimes I didn't even use a different background. Sometimes I would just, if I was in a scenery, I would just use that. I would just use the scenery around me. One of my older videos was recorded in my in-laws in my backyard. This one. This was recorded in their backyard in front of their avocado tree. Because right here is the avocado tree, and then right here is their like orange tree. So I recorded for there. I recorded at their pool, I think a little bit. Let's see if I can get to like part of that. Yeah, this is by their pool. So you just kind of have to use your background. You don't have to do green screen. I started doing it because um I had the ability to, but I used when I did the green screen, I actually used a green cloth I got from Joann's because green screens were expensive and I didn't have enough money at the time. But that was a lot of fun because I learned light and shadow with the videos, because you need to make sure that screen is flat. Otherwise you can see the entire folds of the cloth, even if it doesn't show up in the video. Your green screen remover, all the keying, all the green screen editing will catch every single shadow, and it will show up, and it will be the most daunting. It would be the worst, because I actually have an example of that. Give me one second. This one. The beginning of this video, towards like when I first step into the screen. Hold on. Right here. You can kind of see once this person goes away, you can kind of see some of the shadow in the background. You see that shadow right there? You see that? That's the green screen that I couldn't erase because of the slight folds that the light was capturing. So when people say you need like an actual green screen to do green screen, listen to them, because I had to buy one, and it was a foldable one because I live in a studio apartment. That thing saved my life, but there was still issues because you have to be at a certain distance so the shadow doesn't completely show up behind you and affect the green screen, because it'll do that too. It's very sensitive, and that can cause a lot of problems. But for some videos, it works out. Like for this one, it just looked like I was kind of in the middle of like some white sheets or like some curtains or something that were just blowing around me. So it kind of worked out as like more abstract, but it is going to be kind of hard. So like with this one, I'm actually kind of transparent because it's my curly hair. You can see the green in it. Whereas in iMovie, you can also kind of see the green lines around it. So if I were to get rid of this and go here, see this green and green, you can do this and like do little touch-ups, but see how it deletes it? Because it just doesn't have enough ability in the software to actually remove those edges. There's no erasing like that. There's people that have colored over it, but it is so painstakingly immense and mentally draining. I gave up on trying to do all that stuff because it just took too much. And that was through DaVinci. DaVinci has the ability to do that. And it was I've seen people do it. I'm like, no, that's where I draw my skills. That's where I draw the line because it is just way too much. But the videos in the background I usually download. I made my own through like just basic recording of environment. Um, but that's not something that's kind of common because not everyone lives in LA. Not everybody has a chance to just record from the rooftop somewhere. But if you have the chance to use like scenery like forests, your side street, an alley, things like that, I would definitely use it and just like have like about 2 minutes of it or a few seconds or something just to add a difference in the background because just those little bits can really enhance your video. Um, Even if it's just like you guys acting or needing a little extra something for just a simple just a simple lecture to talk about things or to announce or to advertise or something. It's gonna go a long way. Um, Especially if it's your own, because then you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about possibly hurting somebody's small business because you ripped up somewhere. So also being conscious of that will definitely help you uh finding these. But usually the ones I pulled were usually from uh bigger corporations or um, friends who I know were able to pull it for me. So I know that when it comes to a lot of the editing, it's just like I said, it's a lot of kind of like you're pulling your taste. Like what is your video supposed to be about? Like I had a video that's all about gold, and I had to find so much gold. It was it was this right here was not part of it, but that was for another video that I needed a lot of gold for, and there's not a lot. You would think there would be because gold is a popular color. It's flashy, grabs people's attention, but there wasn't a lot without like somebody already being in the video that you couldn't take out, or it wasn't just a plain background, or it was pixelated. That's another thing. Make sure that your backgrounds aren't pixelated and they're up to scale. So making sure that you're downloading them to a large scale, so to a large pixel size. So there's like 3000 DPI and things like that. That means the quality of the video, but there's also like the 4K quality of the video. There's the size. So most of my backgrounds I tried to keep at a 4K quality, but also the sizing being rather large because some of the videos you'll download, if they're 4K, some of them will still technically be small when you import them, and that's what happened with uh this right here when I was trying to show you guys. This is a great example of an issue. You put this in, right? You put this background in. You try to put this in. See how small it is? You can't change that. You can scroll and make it bigger and all you want, but you can't. As soon as if it's small, it's small. So you have to make sure what size you're also importing if it's a background, because otherwise your whole person will literally just erase it. And even if you like a video, you have to make sure where your person is. So like for example, my Be Our Guest one, I move often to the side, especially if Mrs. Potts is singing, because I'm taking over Mrs. Potts if I'm just standing in the middle because she's front and center through a good chunk of that scene in the original animated Beauty and the Beast. So you have to kind of make sure that you're not taking over space, taking over another person's space or the background space because you want something to be seen, that kind of thing. Um, like for this one, I made sure this one specifically, I showed a lot of California scenery. In the background, I made sure that I wasn't taking over too much of that scenery, that I was either enhancing it or I was making sure that if there was a part of the scenery I wanted people to see, I moved over to the side just like a little bit so they can kind of see where I was dancing so they wouldn't like mess up with it. Um, so you kind of also have to know what background you're using too when it comes to editing your videos. So like for this one's pretty simple. this stuff doesn't really need to be seen. It's just mostly for color. But for the one in iMovie, this one's like fully flat, and I wanted people, and I would want people to see how these arrows are moving up and down in the video, how the background is moving, because that's going to be beneficial and really eye-catching. Um, so I think most of my video editing skill comes from a lot of like visual pull and graphic design than it does actual like function, I guess you could say. Because what is a performance? It's visual. It's for fun. It's for entertainment. And sometimes it can be for an actual purpose. But most of the time it's for just for fun. And a lot of my performances are just is for fun. I have a lot of fun doing it. And I had a lot of fun editing my videos while I've been in the while I started my Dragon pandemic. This is like one of my favorite things to do. This is my huge pastime. And I even helped people do captions and things like that because it benefited them. I help people make their videos in certain parts. Like certain performers had asked me to help them edit their video, and I asked and I offered. I didn't even take pay because I was like, I love doing it. Um but that's what I have. You have another question? Anything else I can explain? Because I feel like I'm missing something. Let's see. There are other video software that you can use, besides just Adobe, iMovie, things like that, and DaVinci. There are some that are web-based. I don't really use them. They have a lot of like clickbait articles because it's free. There will be ads and things like that. But if you need to use one of those, you can use it. It is an option. I don't recommend it. But if you have the option and you don't have like an iPad or an iPhone, you can use those other options to just add caption. Um, I haven't really used them, but I know people who have, and they said it's worked for them. So you can always try those. Like I'll give you an example. One of them was um Clipchamp. That's the one I remember. Clip Champ. This is one of them. The video editor, try for free. Um, it's a free user. Other companies have used it. People have used it. People have advertised it. I've seen people use it. When they were doing Digital Dragon, they didn't have a computer. This is what they used. It's pretty easy, pretty simple. From what I've been told, I haven't, like I said, I haven't used it because I had the other software. But always give that a try as well. That'll be beneficial. You can caption with those, from what I believe. Not sure how accurate it will be or how easy it will be, but you can always give it a shot. It's like I said, up to your comfortability, up to what you're able to do. Don't hinder yourself just because it seems like it's a lot. Don't be scared to try it because there are people who don't have the ability to use these kind of things. So if you have the ability and you're ready to learn, give it a shot. Just throw yourself into it. If you mess up, the only thing you can really mess up is on your own video, and just backing up anything you save. Like if you record a video on your phone, don't delete it until you've really got your video ready to go. That way you have the video, you have it saved, and always use cloud-based uh cloud-based like drive. Like I use Google Drive because it's the easiest one and I can use it on all my stuff. Um, I can even look at stuff while I'm at work too. But that's definitely something to definitely look into if you guys want giving that a shot. Just make sure that you have fun too. I think that's where a lot of it comes from, just having fun. Don't stress out about it because in the end, a lot of when you're first doing stuff, you're learning. No one's gonna judge you for when you're learning. They're gonna be like, "Wow, you did that. Your first try. Good job." And don't be afraid to look at YouTube. I know this is gonna be on YouTube, and I'm gonna look like kind of like I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm so everywhere right now. But I know that there's a lot of tutorials out there. One of my favorite ones, I'm gonna give you guys a recommendation. and they're one of my favorite guys. I use them often because they have such really cool like skills, and they've been absolutely fantastic. Oh my god, so dumb. Where are these guys? Here they are. Here, the Premier Basics guys.
I
Okay?
need to.
These guys are so awesome, and they're so easy. They're so helpful, and they make it so easy to learn Adobe Premiere. This is, like I said, what they focus on. Um, but they do kind of talk about other, like they talk about TikTok. They talk about other forms of editing. They talk about what skills you can work with. And they're super helpful. All their stuff on YouTube is free to watch and to learn. And they show you um the Mr. Beast, obviously his editing trick. It's all the captions, and they teach you everything. And a lot of the stuff that I had to refresh myself on, I went back here, and they were super helpful. And definitely check them out if you can. A lot of their stuff is just really beneficial and will definitely up your game on Adobe Premiere 110%. But that's what I've got. I know it's not a lot, and I know I didn't go into much detail, but I tried, and I feel like um because I didn't have everything 100% ready, I feel like I couldn't explain as much as I'd like to, but it's pretty easy. It's pretty simple. But like I said, mess with it. Have fun with it. Don't stress about it. Try and make junk first before you try and make something good. Otherwise, you're gonna stress yourself out and you're gonna hurt yourself. Just have fun. That's my lesson.
Well, thank you, AJ, for taking the time to show us all the ins and outs of video recording. And I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thanks you guys for coming, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Um, I would try and explain better, but this is my brain. So thank you, I appreciate it, and thank you for having me. If anybody wants to check me out, you can find me on Instagram. Justyn Caze. If you guys want to follow the organization I work with, which is Imperial Court of Los Angeles in Hollywood, you can find us on Facebook, and you can find us on Instagram as well. We have a website we're in the process of working on as well, so that'll be up soon.